everyone. Welcome into another episode of the Inside Voice podcast. My name is Jess. I'm so glad that you are here. As always, we like to start off our episodes with some good news. There's an account that I follow on social media, which, side note, this series that we're in is all about how social media is ruining your life. And I'm literally using social media to share good news. So just take each of these episodes in this series with a grain of salt, knowing that I get that there's benefits to social media. I just feel like there's ways we can improve with the way that we use social media. But nonetheless, getting started with some some good news here. I follow an account called Mighty Pursuit. I love the podcast as well. And recently they had some cancer research doctors come in and talk about the advancements that have been made with cancer treatments. And ultimately in this summary that I found, they talked about how this is kind of like the golden age of cancer research, which almost feels slimy to say, because that word, cancer is just, it is devastating, and it hurts people, it hurts families. I mean, it's a lot, and it's still really scary to get that diagnosis. But it's interesting because it said advances in immunotherapy, early detection, and targeted treatments are changing outcomes in ways that we have never seen before. And this is not me saying this, cancer is no longer something to fear in the same way. And these doctors talk about how they've seen such an advancement in those therapies and early detection, but also even the ability to treat cancer in later stages as well, which it's incredible. A lot of people that I've seen online talking about AI and talking about advancements in technology, some of the people that I follow and I see, they'll say, if you can just hold on for like 5-10 more years, the advancements in how we care for ourselves and how we treat things are just going to be like exponential compared to what we are dealing with now. It's wild. AI is another one of those things that there's so many benefits to it, but man, at the same time, there's a lot of things that like are frightening and scary, you know what I mean? But then I see the videos of like the delivery robots like struggling to go downstairs, and it's like, I think we're okay for a little bit. We're talking about social media once again, and how social media, if not treated well, if not set up with boundaries and parameters, can actually ruin your life. And the last couple of weeks, we've talked about different things that social media can steal from you. We talked about how it can steal your time because it's such a distraction. And we even dove into more than just social media. We also talked about tech in general, video games, streaming services, all of these things vying for attention, all of these things looking for us to engage with them. And at the end of the day, all of these pieces of technology are owned by a company that is a business at the end of the day. They want your attention. They want you on their platform for as long as possible. We also talked about how social media can steal your community, your connection with other people, which sounds so strange because it's like, well, I'm connected to more people than I've ever been connected to in my life, Jess. I've got all these followers and I'm engaging with people on the other side of the world or in other cities, and my business is thriving with people. Again, I understand there are benefits to that, but when it comes to human interaction, when it comes to face-to-face interactions with people, conversations with people, energy with people, like you don't get that on a screen. Social media can definitely steal this idea of community and this idea of really being close with somebody and going deep with somebody. And I think one of the things that I shared with you is I can pick on up on people's energy. You can too. Like you can feel it when somebody walks into a room who's important. I remember, so I work in radio and, content creation, because it's more than just radio these days. But I remember it was the 1989 tour for Taylor Swift, and she put together like a radio lounge where all of us radio people got to like hang out and like eat food and mingle with one another. And then she was going to come and see us. The moment that she walked into the room, it was like the energy shifted. Not only did everybody like get quiet, but it was like everybody was sitting up straighter and like adjusting their outfits and like, oh, hi, how are you? It's so nice to meet you. Like she brought this energy that just it commanded respect, it commanded intentionality, because that's what she was bringing to the table. So you don't get that in a screen. All that to say, humble brag, I've met Taylor Swift. And she has no idea who I am. I want to talk today about wisdom, this idea of knowledge, this idea of information, and how social media, while it can be the breeding ground for a lot of shared ideas and a lot of information being put out there on a large scale, it can also open up avenues of misinformation and straight up fabricated stories or fabricated videos. And more, I'm finding these accounts on social media where it's straight up AI. If you're just scrolling through your feed, it looks like a person, but then you click on the profile and it's like your favorite AI influencer. And it's like, what? So now you think a made up vision of a person talking about a product is going to make me want to buy the product? Like, it's just bananas, the world that we live in these days. Like, I'm like, can you even call yourself an influencer if you're not a real person? Like, what? It's just like messing with my brain. But ultimately, with social media, there's a lot of, there are ways that social media can be used not for the greater good, for the greater bad. Does that make sense? The worse bad, if you will. So I want to start off by identifying and giving the definition of wisdom, because I feel like that really fits with what we're learning on social media and how we're applying it in our lives as well. So the definition of wisdom is the ability to apply knowledge, experience, understanding, and insight to make sound judgments and decisions. I'll read that again to you. The ability to apply knowledge, experience, understanding, and insight to make sound judgments and decisions. Does that sound like our society as a whole? Like, collectively as a human race, does that sound like us? I'm leaning toward no. It doesn't sound like we are taking the wonderful things that can be learned and can be shared on social media and applying them to ultimately live better lives. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Obviously, there's a misinformation, but there's also things that, we can be so passive on social media that we never actually take what we're getting from social media and apply it to our lives. It also could be that there's so much like rage bait and like, this is wrong with you and here's how to fix it, that honestly it's overwhelming for us, and it just leaves us feeling completely lost and hopeless, and it's in some ways angry and emotional. And you can't make great decisions if you are overly emotional. They always say that when you're in a heightened sense of emotion like fear or anxiety, that's not the best time for you to be making decisions, because you can make the wrong decisions. I actually saw a video on social media the other day. I'm going to apply it, okay? I'm going to use wisdom right here, okay? And it's this neuroscientist. She was talking about how she doesn't allow herself to rush. She's like, I would rather be 5 minutes late to something if it means that I'm going to show up like calm than to show up frantic. She said, have you ever noticed, like, when you're in a hurry to get out the door, that's when you drop your keys or you spill your coffee or your dang sleeve gets caught on the doorknob. It never gets caught on the doorknob any other time. But when you're running behind, it latches on and it does not let go. That's because there's so much cortisol in your body at that point that it's causing you to be careless, because your body is in survival mode and it's not really thinking about, like, how do we function normally? It's going survive, survive, survive. And it messes with you. I thought that was really fascinating. And I think that sometimes we leave social media in that same state. We scroll through, we watch videos, we engage in content, we get stimulated in an emotional sense, a mental sense, and then we leave it thinking, oh, I'm putting it aside, I'm going to go back to the way that I was. But no, like, the way that you interacted with that stuff, the way that stuff made you feel, whether you recognized it or not, has an effect on you, and it does affect the decisions that you're making later on. So I want to kind of break down a couple of those things in that definition, like knowledge and experience and understanding and insight. We can learn wonderful things on social media. We can learn hacks, we can learn facts, we can get other sides to the story, we can get other opinions or perspectives or stories from people that can really be beneficial for us if we choose to apply them to our lives, and we'll apply them if we remember. But oftentimes we can watch a video that really is impactful and means so much to us, but then once it's done, or if we don't even make it through the video because our attention span is so small, we go on to the next one. And we forget what was even in that video in the first place, right? There's no chance for us to apply anything because it's just on to the next one, on to the next one, on to the next one. It truly is information overload. There's just way too much out there. And I have a friend that we talk about this a lot. Sometimes when you have too many decisions, you can't make a decision. I think about going to McDonald's. There's that John Panay skit, or that bit that he did in his routine before he passed away, where he's flabbergasted when he goes to McDonald's, and like the people are looking at the menu going, now what is it? And he's like covering his eyes. He's like, it's McDonald's. Ask me anything, left to right to left, up, down. I'll tell you exactly what they have. But oftentimes if there's too much on the menu, you can't figure out what you want. It's like the Cheesecake Factory effect. There's so much on that menu. I mean, it's almost as thick as my notebook right here. How are you supposed to decide what you're going to have for lunch, for crying out loud? The same is true for all of this information that we're getting on social media. It is so much easier to discern what is real and what is not when you're not overloaded with so much stuff coming at you. It's easier for you to discern this works, this doesn't work, this resonates, this doesn't resonate, this applies, this doesn't apply, when there's less stuff to look at, when there's less to discern. You know what I mean? Like, too much is too much. And what we should be doing is taking the things that we're seeing on social media and trying them by fire. As believers in Christ, we should be taking it to scriptures and saying, what does God say about this? What are his principles? What is truth about this? But at the very least, we should be thinking with common sense. We should be thinking with the education that we have. We should be thinking, does this actually make sense? Is this actually real? Does this even apply to me? But again, because there's so much, we have no idea what matters and what doesn't. What we should be trying by fire and what we shouldn't be trying by fire. It's hard, It's just a lot. What about experience? Wisdom is taking experience and applying it. Social media gives us this interesting window into other people's experiences. So it's no longer just what we're experiencing in life, it's what we're seeing other people experience. And again, this can be a beautiful thing. We can learn a lot about other people and other cultures and other countries and other people's upbringings and background. We can learn from those things. But again, there's just way too much. We see too much, we see too many people and too many stories and too many problems and too many victories. It's another like information overload, but this is more of like an emotional overload for us. We're like in this emotional whiplash of we're celebrating one person on their profile, and then we're mourning with another person on their profile. And then it's coupled in with an influencer telling us we need to buy this face cream. And then the next thing is like a highlight reel that this athlete shared of their workout program. And it's like, it's all in one feed. And we're like, I just need time to process. I need to process good. I need to process bad. There's no applying of the understanding. There's no applying of the experiences that we're seeing on our screen that could be very helpful for us. It doesn't always have to be our experiences that we can learn from. We can learn from other people's experiences. So we're not applying knowledge. We're not applying understanding. And honestly, the wins are cheapened. Having so much on there, like we can have something for ourselves that is so wonderful that happens to us and we want to share it with the world. But then like we don't get the likes that we want on it. We don't get the views that we like on it. And so we lose the value of what we're accomplishing in our own lives, which I don't know about you, but I feel like that would make us want to try less, not try as hard. That's definitely not wisdom. That's definitely not taking things around you and applying them in a meaningful way and making great decisions. And again, like we were talking about, the timeline just jolts you into the next thing. Even if you do see something wonderful, it's like on to the next one. And if you share something that's wonderful, people are viewing it the same way that you view their stuff. On to the next one. Oh, that's great for Jess. Move on. Oh, that's great for them. Move on. Oh, that's great for them. I'm on to the next thing. Like, done. Like, done. And like people think that's enough to celebrate other people, you know? I wrote in here, today's likes are yesterday's news. You know, it's like you can post something and with 30 seconds, it's old news because there's so much out there. There's so many people on those platforms. There's so many things just being thrown at you constantly. So there's really no opportunity for you to apply any kind of insight, any kind of experience, any kind of win whatsoever to help you move forward and to help you do more in life. Man, we can unpack that suitcase, you know, like finding worth and value in social media is always going to leave you grasping and chasing more, you know, because it's never enough. Well, I got 30 likes on that. Great. Oh, well, Susie got 50 likes on her post and all she did was just do a get ready with me video and I won a Pulitzer and I only got 30 likes. See how it just, it hurts you, you know, and it affects the way that you move forward. And, you know, obviously another big thing with social media is misinformation. So then it's like, yeah, fake news, stuff like that, rage bait, AI stuff, AI influencers, all of that is included in misinformation. But I think also just the way people are showing up on social media is misinformation. It's everybody posting their highlight reel, for crying out loud. So even those people that are like, this is my routine for the day, and this is what makes me feel so good, or this helps me with my gut health, or oh, this healed my acne, or whatever it is. It's like sometimes that's exaggerated and that is faked if it even was a real thing in the first place, because at the end of the day, they're just trying to sell a product. They're an influencer. That's their job. You know what I mean? There's just so much wildness and deceit in social media that it's hard to grasp what is real. And so if we're going back to that definition of knowledge or of wisdom, we're not able to apply knowledge. We're not able to apply experience. We're not able to apply understanding, you know, celebrating each other's wins, sitting with people in hard times. You know, we're not even able to make sound judgments or decisions with information or insight. And it just makes things complicated. It makes life complicated. And oftentimes I don't even realize that, I don't think we realize that this is actually happening to us. We don't realize that because we're trying to catch up with everybody, whether it's our favorite influencers, our favorite follows, our friends, our family, our favorite dog account. My dog has his, you know, we're trying so hard to catch up with all that stuff that I don't even think we realize that we're not absorbing anything, or we're sending our brain into a tailspin of just way too much information, way too much emotion, way too much things that are left unprocessed, you know? And so we're never able to grow truly. There are times, you know, every so often I just get so fed up with social media. I go in and I start deleting people that I follow because I end up following a lot of people throughout the year. And then I'm like, how can I keep up with 1,000 people? There's no way. There's no way I'm seeing all of this stuff. So I go through and I find the stuff that I'm least interacting with, or the stuff that I'm like, ooh, you're actually annoying. I don't like you. Or maybe you're not serving me in this season. Okay. I don't see the value that I'm getting from your content in this season of my life. Maybe that's a better way to put it. It sounds so terrible. But I unfollow people. I get away from accounts that make me feel less than, that make me feel dumber, that make me feel like they're just trying to stir up an emotion in me, you know, like curating your algorithm or curating your feed, I feel like is so incredibly valuable because again, it's just way too much. And sometimes you can get caught in like an echo chamber with all the people that you follow. It's okay to follow people that challenge you. It's okay to follow people that make you think differently, you know? Again, as long as you're trying it by fire and as long as you're going to the word and seeing what God says about it. I don't see a harm in that, as long as it's not leading you astray and leading you away from God. I don't think that that's an issue. But ultimately, like I've said 1,000 times, like if this was a drinking game, it would be on the floor. It's a lot. There's too much. There's too much to process. There's too much to apply. And so I would recommend and highly encourage you to do an audit of your social media. Look at the stuff that you are seeing on a regular basis, because Instagram will tell you, and I'm sure other social medias are the same way. It'll tell you what is most shown in your feed, what you least interact with. And now I think, I saw it briefly, I haven't gotten into it, but I think that they'll allow you to curate your explore page, to essentially curate your algorithm, which is a benefit, but it's also a little scary because, again, you can get into an echo chamber, and that's not wisdom either. That's not taking experiences, taking insight, taking knowledge and applying it to make better decisions in your life, because, again, you're just finding things that agree with you, and we'll get into more of that next week as we continue this series. But yeah, take a look at what is coming across your feed on a regular basis and ask yourself, is this helpful or is this not? Am I truly engaged with these people or am I not? Am I learning anything or am I not? Like, social media should be an asset to you, not a liability, not something that pulls you away from the things that matter in life. And ultimately, social media is tearing away at our attention span. So I think it's another reason why we need to be more intentional with what we're following, but also the way we're interacting, like scrolling. That has caused our attention span to go down. There are some crazy numbers out there that say that our attention span has gone down to 8 seconds, but it's actually a little more than that. A couple of studies that I found online say it's 47 seconds. That's it. And that is a decrease in the last 20 years. It used to be 2 minutes that we could fully be focused on something before getting distracted. And the recovery time after being interrupted ain't good either. It's 23 minutes. I don't know about you. I don't have 23 minutes to gather myself and get focused again. You know what I mean? Like, we gotta work on this. Can you imagine going out to dinner with somebody very important to you? It could be a spouse. It could be your best friend. It could be your kid. And you're sitting at the table with them, and every 47 seconds you check out. Like, you're not even listening to them. That's what's happening to us. It sounds silly, but that is what is actually happening to us. We just don't have the attention span that we used to. So, what is something that we can do to fix this? How do we actually use social media to our advantage and not let it completely derail us and actually make us dumber in the long run? I mentioned echo chambers. I saw a study the other day that said AI and ChatGPT are actually making us delusional because they essentially can be an echo chamber. What do they call it? AI-induced psychosis. It's this, when you put something into ChatGPT, its first inclination is to be pleasing to you, to be appealing to you, to appease you as well. And, ultimately, like, if you're getting the validation that you want, you're probably going to engage with it a little bit more. But if you're meeting resistance over and over and over again with these prompts, what are the other ones, like Gemini or Claude or something like that, when you're met with resistance every time you open one of those up, you're not going to engage with it as long. And at the end of the day, these are businesses. They want you on their platform engaging more. So yeah, they're going to throw some niceties at you. They're going to tell you how wonderful you are, how you're doing a great job. They might always give you the truth, though. Look out for that. So I think the way that we fix all of this, the way that we get our wisdom back, the way that we actually apply good things that we're learning on social media to live a better life, we have to limit our time that we're on social media. We got to be out in the real world. As the kids say, you got to touch grass. Like, get outside, get in the environment with other people, be around other people, be in society, be in community. That's where you learn, like, what's actually, like, going on in the world. Sometimes you can doom scroll so much on social media that you're like, oh, it's a terrible place. I've been there. I've done that. But then when you actually go out and interact with people, you're like, oh, no, like people are still nice and there is still humanity out there. I'm starting to follow more accounts that are like random acts of kindness or believing in the human race again, that kind of stuff, because I like that. Get out into the world and learn things that way. Learn from actual experiences, learn from actual books, like in a way you kind of have to go back to school a little bit. Cite your sources. If you're on social media and it's some obscure platform or obscure profile that doesn't have any followers, or maybe there's a ton of followers, but the actual engagement on their stuff isn't that high, like that's kind of an indicator that it's maybe not real. If it tells you it's AI, it's probably AI. But this is something that we learned back in ancient times in the 1900s when we would have to like write book reports and we would have to do research papers. We had to cite our sources and we had to cite them legitimately. It wasn't just like, here's the title of the book. It was like, no, we had to put like, what is it? The IBSCN number or whatever. We had to put like actual information. When was it published? Who published it? We had to put all of that in the back of these research papers just to prove that the stuff that we wrote about came from credible sources. I think we would learn a lot and we would benefit a lot if we applied that same practice to social media. Figure out how to cite your sources. As somebody who works in media, I am always trying to find the original source of something. If I see something on social media, I'm like, that's great. Where did it actually come from? And I look at articles and I go through the article. I see if they cited another source and I go to that source and I see if they cited a source. Or, oftentimes I'm like, I just go straight to the artist themselves, like their profiles, and see if they're the ones that said it in the first place. But like knowing where it originally came from gives me credibility, but it also protects me if somebody comes down, they're like, this is slander, this is libel. And it's like, well, it actually came from this publication. So your issue is with them, not with me. Another way that we can fix social media stealing our knowledge is to pray for discernment. This is something that I find myself praying more and more. If you are a reader of the Bible and you have been through Revelation, you know that there will come a time when right becomes wrong and wrong becomes right, when yes means no and no means yes. And there will come this time of like great deception, and AI is a huge window of opportunity for that to happen. And my biggest prayer that what I feel like I've been praying more and more these days is just for discernment, not even just for myself, but for like the people around me, us as a whole, There are some people that believe that, well, if it's prophecy and it's going to come to pass, then hands off, I'll just let it come to pass. And it's like, we can still push back against the armies of darkness. We can still push back against the wickedness of this world and the plans of the enemy. Because at the end of the day, we don't know exactly when Christ is going to come back for us. We don't know exactly when all those prophecies are going to come true. So why would we sit on our hands? We have to be discerning. We have to be applying knowledge and wisdom into our lives. And again, you can use social media to do that. There's great things out there. There's great content. There's great platforms that you can follow that will help you make good decisions in your life. Again, we got to try that stuff by fire. But, I would really, really encourage you to take a look at your social media and, go through it and analyze it and see if it's really serving you and benefiting you in God's way and in a good way. You know what I mean? And then use the stuff that you're learning from those profiles that you have checked out, that you have cited, their sources. And use that stuff and actually apply it to your everyday life. And I think you'll see some beautiful things come from it. But ultimately, the flippant way that we're using social media is not benefiting us. It's not making us smarter. It's not making us more wise. It's just another way that social media is ruining your life. I'm going to get canceled. Mark Zuckerberg's like, get her out. He probably is never going to see this podcast. But thank you for being here for another series of social media and how it's ruining your life. Another episode in the series. We'll be back next week. Again, I'm not going to tell you what we're going to cover because I'm not going to give you an out. I want you to be here and take part in it. So make it a good week for yourself.